Shalom. Shalom and welcome. Welcome to the White Roads Family Channel. If you're tuning in for the first time, my name is Symmanayah, and these are the words I'm compelled to present before an awakening, set-apart nation. In this installment, it is part of the sequence Yashar'al in motion, embedded in the series, The Final Exodus, Countdown 2023. But before I get it started, my name is Symmanayah, if I didn't say that already. Might be having a senior moment. The words expressed in these messages do not necessarily reflect the owners, managers, shareholders, and or their sponsors. With that said, let's get started. In this 16th sequence of Yashar'al, set apart Yashar'al in motion, I want to address travel methods. Though I've spoken already about travel details and some things, there is even more. As I stated before, O Yashar'al, there's much work to be done. A lot of details and processes that will come to play. I shouldn't say play, come into execution as Yashar'al prepare and begin this movement, even more so for this final Exodus. Travel methods. Let us examine some expectations, O Yashar'al. Did you think that there would be a final Exodus without moving parts, moving individuals, processes, and details? Think again, O Yashar'al. Travel methods. Let's examine some expectations. Consider the best walking shoes or boots needed. For a time of movement will come where we will not be afforded the time to go back home or go to the store to buy some comfortable shoes or boots. My instructions to you, O Yashar'al, during these last days is that you keep a pair of walking shoes or boots close by if you're not wearing them already. For you will find the need for them. We will find the need with them as Yashar'al began to move in a manner in which we may not have expected. Take a moment to reflect on the types of vehicles for movement. Consider the operators of such vehicles, whether it be cars, trucks, trains, airplanes, boats, and or ships. Yashar'al, O Yashar'al, as we begin to consider strongly what is expected, we must realize that there are details, there are things to consider. Expectations. What are your expectations? Discuss these matters with friends and family. O Yashar'al. Consider this. Have you identified the best operators for whatever transportation you anticipate in the future? Have you established a method for examining the best operators? Are they intoxicated? Are they competent? Are they precise? Do they take the things that are necessary under consideration for the vehicles that they operate, whatever they may be? One of the most sought after operators will be bus drivers and semi-truck drivers, and those who can drive large vehicles. Why? Because you can get a large number of individuals on these vehicles, and they will prove to be useful in the coming days ahead. Boat and ship operators, along with pilots, will also be important. Have you discussed these details among the brethren or with the leaders? I have seen, O Yashar'al, that there are leaders who don't know how to instruct or present or direct. They have been entertaining us for years. And some of them will be replaced, and some of them we will just come away from. Yashar'al, O Yashar'al, as we begin to move as the 144,000 and great multitude, many of which do not know their specific positions, but they will move, they will gather. We will come together, those who have been chosen to fulfill the final Exodus and more. It is important, O Yashar'al, when it comes to travel methods, that navigators will be key to gathering the set apart. Do we know how to identify those with this expertise, the expertise to navigate? Those that know north, south, east, and west? Do we? O Yashar'al, can we identify individuals that will lead in the right direction? My brothers and sisters, you may be tired or may not be interested in these words, but make no mistake, there will be details and processes. There will be actions that are required to bring about the success of Yashar'al for this final Exodus, to bring about the success of people being in the right place at the right time to do what is expected of them. Please note the sun and the moon are permanent instruments for identifying directions. Time is also a critical component for travel methods. For in the AM, the sun rises from the east. In the PM, it sets. Yashar'al, O Yashar'al, we must be mindful of travel methods, or those who at least understand the dynamics of such. It would be wise to consider all details and processes, my brothers and sisters. What discussions are you having regarding end-time prophecies, regarding the final Exodus? I've heard individuals that claim to be mores and prophets and watchmen with no clue to the details, nor will they engage in conversation to examine those who do. They have rather taken the position of not believing the Exodus will occur before the physical return, or because they cannot discern and understand, they would rather say it's just not going to happen till Yahusha return. My brothers and sisters, look, being a little vain, sure, forgive me. My brothers and sisters, details and processes are important. Travel methods. You may not want to hear about these things, but what do you think? When you read the scriptures that talk about a final exodus, when you read something similar to Isaiah, or read Isaiah 43:5-7, it says, "Do not fear, for I am with you. I shall bring your seed from the east, gather you from the west." Do you know your directions, O Yashar'al? Are there navigators amongst the leadership? It would be wise not to be led in the wrong direction. It says, "I should say to the north, give them up, and to the south, do not keep them back. Bring my sons from afar and my daughters from the ends of the earth." My brothers and sisters, and it goes on to say, "All those who are called by my name, whom I have created, formed, even made for my esteem." You see, Yashar'al, there are those that will mislead you and believe that there will not be a gathering, a final exodus, until the physical return of Yahusha HaMashiach. Why? Because they're undiscerning. Why? Because they don't have a clue. Why? Because they fail to inform you that they don't even know how to vet individuals to identify those who are chosen to lead Yashar'al in these final days. Modes of transportation to consider, I spoke of. I'm going to speak of again. Walking. Do not take for granted. The least mode of transportation is walking from point A to point B. Walking. Do you know where you're walking to? Personal mobile units, whether it be electric scooters, a wheelchair, electronic personal vehicle. Don't take for granted the least of our abilities to move from one point to the next, together with those whom we will be gathered with. Motorcycle or scooter, an automobile or SUV, a truck, a bus, a semi-truck, boats, cruise ships, container ships, passenger plane, cargo plane. Have you discussed these modes of transportation? Are you sure that the Almighty Father is directing you on which direction to go? as times ramp up, as earthquakes and volcanoes become intense, O Yashar'al, travel methods will be something top of mind. Travel methods will be something we must be mindful of. Yashar'al, O Yashar'al, we must consider the mental and spiritual condition of vehicle operators. Some will be strong and can make strong decisions, tough decisions. Others may be frantic and leave prematurely. We may even witness those that take off with an empty vehicle, only concerned about themselves and their own family. We must consider having these discussions, Yashar'al, to be in the right mindset of what to do, how to do it, as we are guided by the Almighty Father. Yashar'al, my brother, my sister, tell me something. How soon do you believe these words will be important to you? You see, O Yashar'al, look around as uncertainty ramp up, as conditions worsen, as end times begin to become more intense. Soon, if it haven't already, it will reach your doorstep, our doorsteps. Soon we will see the need to move on, to press forward, to know how to focus, to know how to manage the grief, the pain, to know how to come together with strangers that have also been drawn by the Almighty Father and are coming together. How soon do you believe these words regarding travel methods will become of importance? Wouldn't you like to know now how a person will respond in an emergency situation when it comes to travel and movement? Chosen leaders will be anointed with the wisdom to provide the instructions. I'm going to do a post on this with a specific message, but I am compelled to mention this. Look around, O Yashar'al. As end times become intense, some of the most outspoken mores, teachers, pastors, end time ministers, some of the most prolific, some of the ones with the most largest of followings are beginning to look dumbfounded, like they don't know what to do. Some of them are beginning to display their limits, their inabilities, that they don't and can't and have not discerned what is happening. Yashar'al, my brother, my sister, my family, let's engage. Let's have the conversation of what we are to be doing. For many will see when sudden destruction comes, it will be too late. Will you be among those caught in congestion, left behind because you failed to act or engage in the conversation that will help discover and unveil what you are to be doing? My brothers and sisters, remember, it's very important that we do not become over anxious. You know, the Almighty Father has taken Yashar'al through many challenges and changes. Let us learn from the lesson from our forefathers who became over anxious. They became overconfident because Yahuwah had led them through many victories. And as a result of them being over anxious, they overstepped. They stepped outside the boundaries of where they were supposed to be going. As in this case, this example, this is related to battle. Consider Numbers 14:39-45. Let me read this. Come, O Yashar'al. Numbers 14:39-45. When Moshe spoke these words to all the children of Yashar'al, the people mourned greatly. They rose up early in the morning and went up to the top of the mountain, saying, "See, we have indeed sinned, but we shall go up to the place which Yahuwah had spoken of." But Moshe said, "Why do you now transgress the mouth of Yahuwah, since it does not prosper? Do not go up, lest you be smitten by your enemies. For Yahuwah is not in your midst. Because the Amalekites and Canaanites are there before you, you shall fall by the sword. because you have turned away from Yahuah. Yahuah is not with you, but they presumed to go up to the mountain top. But neither the ark of the covenant of Yahuah nor Moshe left the camp. So the Amalekites and the Canaanites who dwelt in that mountain came down and struck them and beat them down even to Hormah. You see, Yashar'al, you can get what I would consider to say is cocky, overconfidence, overzealous, based on what the Almighty Father has done. But if you're not seeking to obey and discern what is he saying now, that anxiousness, that overzealousness could lead to one's death. Such that this happened in days of old, we will see that happen in the coming days. We must begin to identify the overzealous versus the obedience, the anointed versus the undiscerning. Yashar'al, my brothers and sisters, the final exodus requires movement, and movement requires us to be mindful of travel methods. Some of us will begin walking. Some of us will begin in cars and switch from one car to the next as fuel run out, and we are unable to get fuel from the stations. Do you not know that if you're traveling across the roads that a semi-truck have anywhere from 107, could hold anywhere from 175 to 350 gallons of diesel fuel and can travel upwards to 1,500 to 2,000 miles without refilling? I suggest to you, O Yashar'al, speak to semi-truck drivers. Speak to those that own trailers that are among Yashar'al or are willing to support Yashar'al. Learn how to have the right tool to cut into the trailer. Portals to breathe. Portals to exit out and not be trapped in the trailer. But recognize how many people can load up. You see, in this remnant, my brothers and sisters, it will be tens of millions of people gathered from the four corners of the earth. Massive movement. But when you compare it to the population of the entire planet, it is only a remnant. Hear these words, O Yashar'al. The final exodus requires movement. That movement comes with detail. Do not despise the chosen leaders. They must and will be obedient. What say you, O Yashar'al? Is obedience something you fight against and you struggle with? Learn to vet. Learn to ask questions. Learn what it means to discern the living voice of the Spirit of the Almighty Father Yahuah sent in Yahusha's name. Learn to recognize when it's time for you to lead and rise up. Yashar'al, O Yashar'al, there will be discipline and corrections. Yashar'al, my brother, my sister, conditions will reach the doorstep of each of us who are physically alive. It is important that we know what it means to identify and embrace wisdom and discipline. Consider Proverbs 1:7. The fear of Yahuah is the beginning of knowledge. Fools despise wisdom and discipline. I hear so many people saying, don't be afraid. Don't be fearful. My brothers and sisters, what the scripture says, don't fear what man can do to you. We must fear Yahuah. For fearing Yahuah, we will find ourselves giving pause to make sure we're moving in the right direction with the right people and doing the right things. We must understand that the fear of Yahuah brings pause. Pause that sometimes causes us to listen to the still voice of the Spirit of the Almighty Father. And we will see wisdom and discipline have their place. Proverbs 3:11 and 12 say, my son, do not despise the discipline of Yahuah. Do not loathe his reproof, for whom Yahuah love, he reproves, as a father the son whom he delights in. You see, too many overconfident, overzealous individuals would rather spend more time fighting reproof than listening and receiving and rising up stronger and wiser. Yashar'al, Yashar'al. To discern the things that must be done in these end times, we must be able to identify the voice of the Spirit of Yahusha. Whether he's speaking directly to us in spirit or through another to us, we must be able to vet and examine and identify his presence. Proverbs 14:26 says, in the fear of Yahuwah is strong trust, and his children have a place of refuge. A place of refuge, my brothers and sisters. We must be able to get there. To get there, they require travel methods. Remember, travel methods must include destinations which will prove to be places of refuge in the days ahead. My brothers and sisters, traveling times have begun for many. Discern your position, where you're headed, with whom, how long it will take. Do you take anything or anyone with you? Yashar'al, Yashar'al. Take heed to these instructions and these words, for the sense of urgency will be magnified in the coming days ahead. Traveling attire. Consider changing climate. If you're moving from an area, if you're traveling from an area where it's hot all the time, but you have to pass through an area where it's cold, do you have a coat, a sweater, a jacket, a blanket, a comforter? Do you have some type of material or garment to keep you warm? Let me say this, O Yashar'al. For some of us, there are things that the Almighty Father will be telling us to do, and don't worry about all these things. They'll come in time. And there are some whom the Almighty Father is saying, gather this and gather that. Prepare. Fill your oil. Fill your lamps with oil. Carry the garments that are required. And I'm not saying a bunch of suitcases. Yashar'al, Yashar'al. And some he will say, leave right now. Don't worry about that. You see, my brothers and sisters, the conditions will come in such a way that there will be a sense of urgency. There will be actions. In some cases, they have already begun in some parts of the country. Just because it haven't happened to you does not mean it's not coming your way, O Yashar'al. Discuss these matters. What are your expectations, my brothers and sisters? Travel methods. Prepare to accept the realities of movement in ways you may not have given thought. Yashar'al, O Yashar'al, discuss these matters. Pray on these matters. Find agreement. Know that some you may have to walk away from, or some will walk away from you. Travel methods, O Yashar'al. Yashar'al in motion. We must think about the realities. Stay tuned, O Yashar'al. Details and processes will be made clear to each and every one of us who are called to fulfill specific end-time prophecies. Get connected. Get involved. My brothers and sisters, the days are coming when obedience will be more important than being overtaken by emotions. Yashar'al, I salute your patience and listen to this message. I know some of you might say these are repetitive messages. He's very redundant. I believe with all my heart, mind, body, and soul that the words in this message will come back to remembrance to those who ignored it and took it for granted. And for those who hear these words, ask questions, begin discussion, praying, begin movement. For some of you, begin that movement sooner than later. I have stated on many occasions that I believe I am a contributor towards bringing Yashar'al together in the Western Hemisphere, and that gathering will be in the state of Virginia, also referred to as the Commonwealth of Virginia. Yashar'al, oh Yashar'al, help me and become a contributor towards the forging together of a set-apart nation to make that final journey across the Atlantic Ocean back to the promised land. It will be done en masse. And I believe the majority of those in the Western Hemisphere will travel on container ships. Container ships that have been properly organize the whole individuals. Pray, O Yashar'al. I believe it will be mostly children, but there will be adults as well. The details that have flashed before my very eyes, I am confident requires a lot of work. You, O Yashar'al, ask questions. At the very least, if you don't know what to do, consider financially supporting the coming together of Yashar'al, the work that needs to be done, organizing vehicles, operators, managing fuel, resources, and supplies, knowing what highways are best. Are you aware that if you're coming from California, during the daytime crossing through Arizona, Nevada, it is extremely hot and many vehicles can overheat. So it is best to travel in the cool of the night. The same if you're coming from the north, from like Washington or Oregon, making your way across the upper Midwest, towards the upper Midwest and across. It may be more advantageous to travel during the day, the warmth of the day, for the nights may be extremely cold. Yashar'al, Yashar'al. Look at maps. Talk to each other. Discuss the realities. We have the technology, whether you're looking at a map on your phone, on your computer. Ask about individuals who are skilled at navigation. Yashar'al, Yashar'al. Take heed to these words. My prayer is that as things ramp up, that we grow in discerning the voice of the Spirit of Yahusha, that we know how to vet, how to examine, how to identify, and how and when to act. On that note, to you, my brother, my sister, I pray for your good health, and I pray for you to have the strength and ability to endure whatsoever state that you're in. I pray for you, O Yashar'al, that we witness the realities of what's unfolding. Do not be overly consumed with what's happening in the outer court, those outside of the set-apart family of Yashar'al. Begin to identify those who seriously identify that their spirit is stirring and that the need to come together is now. The need to discuss the realities of what must be done and what will be done is now. On that note, O Yashar'al, stay tuned. Details and processes will be made clear. Visit YahsWatchman.net. Get connected. Get involved, O Yashar'al. Help me. I also have a Cash App, White Rose Family. Will you be one of those that say, I'm glad I contribute to something that is magnanimous, something that is going to be extraordinary for the building up of a set-apart nation that's coming together to fulfill what is written, what is promised? Help me, O Yashar'al. Even in subscribing, that helps. The choice is yours. I am confident that the Almighty Father Yahuah will prove all that is necessary to get the job done, and with whom he will use. What's your position? What say you? On that note, O Yashar'al, travel methods. Have the discussions. Examine the expectations. Do not ignore the plans that are going forward. Take care, my brothers and sisters. For the stirring within will magnify. What is expected will come to be. On that note, Shalum.